Hey guys, and today I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and try and live stream to you guys my first mock draft for the 2019 season. I'm sorry if the quality's bad, and right now you're pretty much staring at kind of a black screen, and I know, but I kind of can't help that. Just kind of, it's kind of hard for me to hold it with the draft I'm looking at right now. And I think it's time maybe we get starting with the first overall pick. I'll give you guys a nice explanation, and obviously if you're watching this live, make sure to comment, let me know you guys are here. And if you're watching this as a video, comment on the video, give me your personal opinions, what you think what you think I should change, what you like about my draft, and maybe even stuff that doesn't even relate to the draft but to other parts of my channel. We'll start things off with the first overall pick. And for me, I have Nick Bosa from Ohio State. Nick Bosa is one of the most explosive players in this draft, if not the most explosive player in the draft. He is a great pass rusher. His older brother, Joey, I think that Nick is going to be better. Nick is more explosive. Nick can get off that block very easily. He's a very talented player, and he's also great at getting into the backfield. And I think he even does really well at kind of watching the pass and reading the offense. I just think that Nick Bosa is one of those best players. I haven't watched a ton of tape on many of these guys right now in the draft, but soon I'm going to start watching some tape, seeing what they do well, and this draft could completely change. With the second pick that I have here in the draft, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking Josh Allen from Kentucky. And Josh Allen is the same thing as Bosa. He is explosive. He gets off the pass. He can get to the quarterback, get to the running back. He's just a pure explosive player. And he may even be more explosive and athletic than Bosa, but that's kind of a toss-up. The two guys are very similar, but I think Allen may just be a slight bit better at maybe dropping back towards coverage and reading the pass, as Bosa, in my opinion, I think is more of a guy who goes straight for the passer, but is also not terrible at reading the offense. With the third pick, I have another defensive player going. This is going to be Ed Oliver from Houston, and he is going to easily be one of the top players in the draft. Coming in, he was known as maybe even the number one prospect in this whole entire draft, but he slowly fell every single day. And don't mind my dog barking, Abigail. And he's very explosive. He's obviously a defensive tackle, so he doesn't really get into the edge, so he really gets those bigger guys that are in the middle. So that's one thing that may be a disadvantage. But I think he would also do very well at possibly rotating to defensive end here with the Jets and being a very explosive defensive player, as that is what this draft is made of. Very explosive defensive pass rushers on that front line. There's a lot of them in this draft. All right. How about here with the fourth selection? I have the Oakland Raiders taking, in my opinion, and in many other people's opinion, the best quarterback in the draft, Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State. Dwayne Haskins, as I have also watched a bit of tape on him from watching some of the 7th Round Bust podcast by Bengal on his YouTube channel. You guys should check him out. And he also does a lot of prospect breakdowns. He just did one on Dwayne Haskins today. I watched that, and I kind of took his opinion in, and I thought it was a very solid opinion. Yes, and I'm a huge Ohio State fan, and my Ohio State team really ran on the yards after catch. All of those yardage, really you can't take that serious because the receivers had so much speed. It was the yard after catch. Obviously, those little slip screens off of the side to guys like J.K. Dobbins and Paris Campbell. Obviously, those deep throws to guys like, I think it was Dixon. Who else was out? There were some other guys out there. Those deep throws that they beat their DB. A lot of yards after catch made Haskins look better, but he is a great decision maker. He sees the field well. And I think that he would be a great player if he can develop under Oakland. Yes, he may have to struggle and be on a bad team for a few years, but I think that he can handle that, even though he was a winner pretty much every year of his career at Ohio State. But I think he can handle that, wait for the starting job for him after Derek Carr to come around, and then I think he can really lead that Oakland team back to what they were a while ago. So, I do have that to say. And, alrighty, let's get to the 5th pick. I have the not Oakland, God, I can't talk or think. So, I'm the number 5 pick. I have the Buccaneers from Tampa Bay taking Greedy Williams. A lot of you may be surprised by me having them select him, but I will give you guys a good explanation. I think Greedy Williams can drop back into coverage, and in my opinion, he's a great player, and he's so good that in his last year, they tried to avoid even targeting him. But the problem was he had his 8 interceptions over these past 2 years, and the best part about it was probably that they didn't want to target him, but he can move across the field to the receiver that he was not guarding, and that he was not playing defense on, and targeted opposite of him, and still getting over there to get the interception, and that shows that he's athletic, he has great hands, and he is definitely great at reading that offense. I think Greedy Williams could even go higher, maybe to Oakland, maybe to the Jets. I couldn't see him going in the first 2, but I could see the Jets possibly going with Greedy Williams, but I think that he will slip, and the Buccaneers will have one amazing football player if they select him there. Alrighty. With the 6th pick, I have the New York Giants selecting Clelin Ferrell. God, my dog is annoying. Sorry. So I think that Ferrell is a great pick. He may not be the biggest guy in this draft, height-wise, but he is definitely a great player. He is athletic. He could get to the quarterback, and he was part of one of the deadliest pass rushes in all of college football last year with that Clemson Tiger team. And I really think that he could pan out well in the NFL if he had a good defense to learn under. And I think that could be a problem with the Giants. But this is not who I want to take because I would have some of the top players slipping down to my favorite team, the Cleveland Browns. But this is what I think they're going to do, and I think the Giants will pick Clelin Ferrell here, but they may not have the best defense, which is why I think this may not be the best move for the Giants, but it also may not be the best move for Clelin Ferrell. So, yeah, this may be kind of risky selection up there, but Ferrell's a great player. If you had him go somewhere, let's see down here, maybe Denver, maybe Green Bay maybe even Detroit, he would pan out to be an amazing player, but going to the Giants may not be good. Okay, guys, give me a second. Alright, so next up I have the 7th selection, which is the Jaguars, and I've heard from a lot of people that the Jags need a QB. Blake Bortles is nowhere near what people think he is. He is not a good quarterback at all. He is terrible. He's never going to pan out in the league. He's not going to be a good player. He has no pass protection. And then when I hear that, that's when I'm like, exactly. He has no pass protection. And I think if he had pass protection like he had the year before, Blake Bortles could be one of the elite quarterbacks, and that's why I have Greg Little from Ole Miss being selected here. Yes, you are probably wondering, why do you not have Jonah Williams from Alabama before Greg Little from Ole Miss? Well, because I think Greg Little will be harder to get around. Weight-wise, he is a heavier player, which I think it'll be harder for people to then get past him. I think he would be deadly, and I think then Bortles could rely on moving towards Little, having the protection, and being able to find the multiple decent to great weapons that he has on his offense. God, sorry. I think that he can have those weapons to really help him, and if he can find those weapons, then he's going to do really well. But Greg Little overall as a player, I think this will be a great fit for the Jaguars. God, we have a good Google Home, and that scared the crap out of me because it's really sensitive voice-wise. So next up with the 8th pick, God, dog, seriously, guys, I'm kind of pooping pants here because everything's freaking goodness. Okay, just got a freaking toy to play with. Okay, next up we have the Lions. All right, guys, she wants to play, so I'm gonna bring her over here. So, alrighty, I'm back. So, I have the Lions taking Quinnen Williams. You guys are probably wondering, why is Quinnen Williams slipping to the 8th overall draft selection? Well, because this may be a little thing that you guys can say, oh, you don't need to worry about it like that. But, well, I'm kind of a guy like this. I love the great players that you can get, but I think they need to be a good locker room guy and a great player and a team guy. And that is one problem I think I see with Alabama defensive lineman star Quinnen Williams. And I was a little disappointed because I was really looking at him as a top 5, top 4, maybe even a top 3 draft selection coming into that game against Oklahoma. But when I saw the hit he made on Kyler Murray, throwing to the ground, trying to rip the helmet off, really disappointed me. If I was an Alabama fan, an Alabama coach, or an Alabama possibly even a alum or former player, I would be really disappointed in my star defensive tackle. Why? Because that's not a football move. That's just not a football move. You got to play the game clean. And I know you're really desperate to move on and be a winner, but you don't have to do that to possibly one of the top tier draft prospects in the draft, who is also up there with yourself, as well as you guys are really looking to run away with the game. So that was a little disappointing, but I think he's a great player. I don't think he will fall out of the top 10. But, that's just a little thing that he might fall out of the top 5. But I think the Lions would be absolutely ecstatic to get Quinnen Williams there. And I think under Patricia, a former man who worked under Bill Belichick, going to be strict to him. And I think he's going to put him in line. And I think Williams could be back to one of the best players in the league. Right, next up I have the 9th selection in the Buffalo Bills. Same thing with the Jaguars. They're saying Josh Allen is not going to pan out whatsoever. He's not going to be a good player. He has that strong arm, but no accuracy. And they're like, he's not good under pressure. And this is when I said, it's the same situation with Blake Bortles. He's going to need pass protection to help him. And I think if he had pass protection, he could use that cannon, get more accurate, and become a star player. So I think I'm really excited to see that happen, and that's why I think Alabama offensive tackle Jonah Williams should be selected here. So he's a great player. He's similar to Little. He's not as big as Little, which may make it a little bit easier for defensive ends to get around them. But they're two similar guys. I think either of them could flip here. I think Jonah Williams could go to the Jags, and Little could go to the Bills. I think that could flip. I think it depends on a team's preference. And if I were the Jaguars, and I think the Jaguars would prefer a guy like Greg Little over a guy like Jonah Williams. But, that's your guys' decision and what you think. So, let's go to the next pick as we finish out the top 10 with the Broncos. I have them going with Deontay Thompson, a safety from Alabama. And yes, I know, that is the 3rd Alabama player I have selected. It's Alabama. They always have a star team, and they are 2 of the 3 are on defense. And this is, again, a defense-heavy class. And I'm excited, not really excited, but Alabama fans are happy that in their defensive class, they have one of the very few star offensive players. They were one of the teams that had one of the very few star offensive players that are a high caliber draft pick. So, you're looking at stuff like that, which is really going to make you happy. So, that's what I think is going to be a great fit for them. And I think they would do really well with a guy like Deontay Thompson. They already had an elite secondary, and I think that Deontay Thompson, along with Bradley Roby and Chris Harris, could turn what that secondary was a couple years ago with all those guys leaving back into what it was, but with some new and younger guys. So that instead of the dynasty living for 2 or 3 years, it can live for a long time to come. Defensive-wise, in the secondary, not as a team-wise dynasty, but a good secondary defensive dynasty. Alright, you have the Bengals here taking Devin White from LSU. And hold on a second, guys. Alright, guys. I'm sorry, but my dog wants to eat at 7 o'clock when I literally fed her at 4 hours ago. The Bengals selecting Devin White. And I've heard a lot of people talking down Devin White, saying he's not as good, that he has a struggle getting off the pass, which he may do that. From watching some of his tape, he does. But I don't think that's going to matter when he is a pure athlete, and his pure speed could help him just possibly blow by a couple guys with his athleticism, which could make him a deadly NFL player. And that's exactly what happened at LSU. And I'm not going to say that he can do that in the NFL, but I'm saying that he's not going to ever be able to do that in the NFL. Some teams he can do that to, especially if you're looking at the division. The Ravens' offensive line is okay. And you have a guy like Lamar Jackson who is going to be running, and you're going to need an athletic player. The Bengals will see Lamar twice a year, and Devin White would be good for that. Even Baker Mayfield is a very athletic player. Devin White could help with that. Ben Roethlisberger, he has a great offensive line. That may be the only team he may struggle against in that division. But with the Browns and the Ravens and their mobile style quarterbacks, he will be a great fit. I think how long I've been running already, 18 minutes. So 13 with the 12th selection, I have the Packers taking Trevon Mullen out of Clemson. And it's been a while. I think it was even last season when I was kind of watching Trevon Mullen, and I'm like, this is a very overlooked player. Alrighty, guys, I will be right back for the 200th time in this streak. Alrighty. Sorry, and even since last year in those final games, I'm like, I think Mullen's really overlooked. I think this is a great player who, when his turn to come to the draft comes around, he should be a high pick, and that I think if the teams really realize it, they could get a stud up there. And then coming into this year, he just continued to impress me with his skill, watching a lot of Clemson games. And I truly realized I've been right since last year. He is a stud, and he is continuously climbing up the board to be one of the top tier selections. I was really thinking he would be a top guy until I watched some of LSU and heard about Greedy Williams and realized Mullen would not be the top DB, but had a great chance to be the second right after Greedy. And I'm really excited to say that I've been watching Mullen for a while, I've thought he should be here, and that now he is being amongst the talks, having a very, very, very high chance of being there. So I was really excited to see he was climbing up the boards, and I'm happy for a guy that I've been watching for the past few years as kind of a sleeper player. With the 13th selection, I have the Dolphins taking Kyler Murray. Yes. Go ahead in the comments, talk all you want, do your complaining and your draft raving. I have Kyler Murray being selected in the first round and in the top 15. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo for all you Alabama fans. But whatever. This is an athletic player who is a ridiculous athlete. That's why he was a great base stealer in baseball. Watched some tape of him. He was also a great hitter, as well as he was a great doubles and triples hitter, hitting them into the gaps with his pure speed. And that's why he was an elite center fielder with the speed. I myself, when I played baseball, was a center fielder. And, I was out there, and they said I'm out there because of speed. And I'm like, all right, I'm not the fastest person alive, but the reason I'm out there is because of speed. And I think that's why Kyler Murray should be out there. Yes, I know, center field. We're getting off topic. This is MLB. It's supposed to be an NFL draft. But all of that ties in. That's why he is playing baseball has turned him into a freak athlete. And that is why I think he's the Lamar Jackson of this draft, but better. Lamar Jackson struggled throwing the ball, but Kyler Murray has a very strong arm and great accuracy. He's kind of a mix of Lamar Jackson. He has Lamar Jackson's speed, but then he has the arm of Josh Allen. Put those together, you have a deadly player. His arm may not be as strong as Josh Allen's, but he's got the Josh Allen type arm strength and the Lamar Jackson speed, which is turning him into a deadly dual threat quarterback. And I think that the Dolphins have a great quarterback for the future with Kyler Murray here. And that would they could scrap the idea of Ryan Tannehill since he's getting older, get him out, make him kind of fuel Murray, help Kyler learn, and that can turn Kyler Murray into a deadly dual threat quarterback as well as a top tier quarterback through the next few eras. All right then. So now, as you can tell, we're out of 13. Pretty much there's no more quarterbacks left. But let's get to the Falcons with Byron Murphy, defensive back from Washington. This is a great player. I did not watch any tape of him. The only time I got to watch Byron Murphy was when Byron Murphy and the Washington Huskies played my college team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, in the Rose Bowl. And I watched him there. He was a solid defensive back. But again, I only saw him for one game, so I don't have high expectations. But from what I have heard, his other tape is very freak athlete. I've been hearing a lot of that he's a freak athlete, good hands, good coverage, and good reading of the offense. So you guys can complain if you watch his tape, and that might be his con. And, maybe something I say is not good at is his pro. I know. False information. Yell at me for it. But this is off of what I have heard. And this is from what I've seen with maybe the couple of games, maybe the little of time I've watched them play. So I may not know everything right down 100%. This is from what I've heard kind of off of these players. And I know I'm probably wrong, but this is just kind of what I've heard rumor-wise. So that's what I've heard about with Murphy, and I think he'd be a great selection here for the Falcons. Alrighty. Sorry about that again. So next up, we have the 15th overall selection, the Redskins. And here, I'm my third quarterback off the board, Daniel Jones from Duke. And I don't know why, when my dad was writing this, he put Duke in, I don't know, Dookie or something. I don't know, you're Dookie. I don't know, but, you know, he's a great quarterback. The Senior Bowl, truly, he shone. I don't know how to say the plural first. He shined at the Pro Bowl. I can't think, guys. I heard, I even was watching, you know, I was having some dental work done, watching some practice, and I was watching him throw some bullets to some players. And watching him with accuracy. He is a great, great quarterback, and I think he's a similar, I don't know many comparisons of Daniel Jones. He's a whole new type of quarterback. He's a guy who knows it. He knows the game. He is average at everything else, but has so much room for development. He's kind of a new type. Over the last 3 or 4 years I've been covering the draft with my dad, I really haven't seen a guy like Daniel Jones, and it's cool to see now that a different type of player in this draft and kind of seeing where they're going to fall. And I would have him falling in the top 15. Great quarterback. Obviously, he did play all 4 years and graduated at Duke, which I like that he was, you know, he thought about it and knew he should stay for every single year, you know, to get a good degree, to learn, as well as to develop his football career. So I thought he'd be a great selection, and the Redskins have Alex Smith just to be, you know, that mentor that they need. All right, we're out of the top 15, and now we're getting very close to my Cleveland Browns. But first, we have the Carolina Panthers, and since we're starting to get to very close to the end of that era for Greg Olsen, this is where I think the Panthers are going to look for another tight end to lead them, and this is, in my opinion, the best tight end, and in a lot of people's opinion, Noah Fant from Iowa. And Noah Fant from Iowa is one ridiculous athlete. I shouldn't say ridiculous athlete, a ridiculous player. He's also a great athlete. You know, he's a good level of athlete. He's not, you know, he's nowhere near the Kyler Murray, you know, Greedy Williams, Josh Allen, Nick Bosa type of athlete. But he is a great athlete there. I think he would be a good fit for this team. Similar to Olsen, maybe even a better athlete than he is. But, you know, I don't think he may not have the legacy and may not be as star of a player as Olsen was, but I think he will be a solid tight end that that Cam Newton can rely on for years to come. And now we're here to the pick that I've been waiting to tell you guys. It's my Cleveland Browns at 17. And here, if any of you guys watched the Senior Bowl, you would be surprised that this player has fell this far. And now that I've said that, you probably know who I have the Browns selecting. Montez Sweat from Mississippi State. If you are a Browns fan, he's also a defensive end, if you don't know what his position is. And some of you might be wondering, you already have Myles Garrett. Why would you need another young defensive end? Well, of course, you need another young player. The Browns don't need more veterans. We have a good amount of veterans, but now we are going full rebuild with young players rolling in every year. And I think that Montez Sweat could possibly be equal and maybe even a surprise star and better than Myles Garrett. Why? Freakish athlete. I'll give you those 2 words. His athleticism is ridiculous. You saw another top lineman, Andre Dillard from Washington State. He got ripped apart by Montez Sweat. Sorry. He went to Washington State, and he obviously got absolutely ripped apart. And, you know, that was a little bit surprising to see that he got ripped apart, because he's such a good lineman, but that just shows you how freak of an athlete and how ridiculously good Montez Sweat is as a pass rusher. Dillard was good. I was watching 5 reps against him. Boom. one step and then a move to get past him. It wasn't like it was he had one, maybe two that were tough to get past, but like 3 or 4 of the other ones, he easily ripped Dillard apart to get there. And I think he's a freakish athlete. You know, I could see him going top 15, maybe slipping into the top 12. That would be really rare. I don't think he'll go into the top 10. But I think if he falls here, the Browns have a steal in Montez Sweat. And next up, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking, I don't know what his first name is because I can't remember. This draft has kind of been like this for a while. His last name is Oliver. He's a tight end from, I'm pretty sure. Hold on a second, guys. I will be back again. Gosh, this thing has been like twice as long for my dog being annoying. Like it's over 30 minutes already. Goodness. So now I'm gonna kind of get through this quick since we're kind of out of the pass by team's pick. We're just gonna kind of run through it quickly. I think the Vikings have a great player in this Oliver guy, the tight end. I'm pretty sure this is it says like something state. I can't read it because I can't see whatsoever. I think it's the Aztecs. You guys will probably know the college I'm talking about, but he looks like a great tight end, a great fit for them. I have the Titans taking Devin Bush from Michigan. You know, my mom is a Michigan fan. We kind of have a divided house, and I watched a lot of Michigan. Him, along with his good pass rushing friend Rashawn Gary, made that defense deadly. Bush was hard to stop, great athlete, and I think he'll be a great player with the Titans at the NFL level. Next, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. This might be one of my longer explained ones. Rashawn, as a Browns fan, I would hate to see, and Mom would hate it even worse, to see one of the players from her favorite college team go to her least favorite team in the NFL and have to see her favorite team twice a year. That, and I'm scared too to see that good of a player have to my favorite team having to face them twice a year would scare me. But I think again, this is what I think will happen, not what I want to happen. And I think they're going to take Rashawn Gary out of Michigan here and really start to put pieces together to become the deadliest. Easily the deadliest in the league and possibly one of the deadliest defenses of the decade and possibly maybe even of all time, but it would be a while. So coming after Gary, I have DK Metcalf out of Ole Miss. You know, it is what it is. At Ole Miss, he's, great receiver, decent size, good hand. Didn't have the greatest quarterback behind him. He's a good receiver. Not really much to say about DK Metcalf. He also he's tied to some NFL bloodline with his dad being a running back in the former running back in the NFL. He's got some NFL bloodlines as well, which I wouldn't say gives him an advantage, but might help him just a bit, at least to know the game from his dad. All right, so next we have the Baltimore Ravens. I have them taking Christian Wilkins out of Clemson. That's a great player. All those Clemson guys were pretty similar in that deadly pass rush. I know 22 all the way from 6. You guys do the math, you probably know that that's a long ways to go. 6 to 22. What is 6? You guys can do that math in the comments because I'm 22 minus 6. That's the amount of picks I have between this deadly defensive, 2 of the deadly defensive players from Clemson. Because, it kind of is what it is. The draft kind of lies in between really aren't needing Christian Wilkins or that type of player. So that's why I think he'll land. I would hate to see him go against the Ravens, an already extremely deadly defense that my favorite team has to see twice a year. But again, it would improve their defense and really help the Ravens start to continuously win the division. So we're done with that division, but now let's head not too far away. Division-wise, they're pretty similar. But let's head to the south of the AFC and see what the Texans could select here. I have them going with Adderley, the safety from Delaware. And, he is a great player. I watched him in the Senior Bowl. Everybody got a helmet sticker from good old John Gruden. He had a lot of them. He made some good plays. And, I watched a little bit of him in practice. He looks like your normal first round safety. Pretty much all the same traits. He's a great player. And I think the Texans could make an already great secondary even better with a young player like him. Righty, next up, I have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I think I said that right, and I think that's what his name is. I'm not sure. But the wide receiver from Stanford. I have not seen any tape of this player, but from what I've heard, he's a great player. I really have nothing to say about him, and just from looking at some big boards, this is where, looking at draft fits, I have Whiteside falling. Alright, so next up, we are here to my last one before where I had Jeffrey Simmons, where I had to redo it before I started this live stream. I have the Eagles taking Jachai Polite from Florida. Well, if I have one thing to say, steal. I don't think really anybody is going to take a guy like Polite, but with a defensive heavy draft, not being in the top 20, you can still get yourself a top 15, maybe even a top 10 caliber defensive player because of the amount that there is. Joey Bosa, Allen, Oliver, Williams, Farrell, Quinnen Williams, Thompson, all of that. It's great talent that even like guys like, just because, Quinnen Williams would be normally in the top 3 because of, what he did to Kyler Murray, even Deontay Thompson, Devin White. If the guys above them weren't in this draft, they'd be top 5 picks. It's going to make those great players fall. Guys like Montez Sweat, guys like Devin Bush, Rashawn Gary, Wilkins, and obviously who I have the Eagles selecting, Jachai Polite, can fall a ways down and really be a big steal in this draft. And that's why I think this may be one of the hardest drafts to pick and mock, but as well, probably one of the most fun drafts, and this will probably be one of the most loaded drafts of great players in a while. Obviously, being pretty even up with last year's draft. Which, yes, I did not have the Browns selecting Baker Mayfield number 1. Kinda was mad when they did that. Kind of regret that now. Ready. Now let's go through the Colts. I have them taking Josh Jacobs from Alabama. They have a pretty good running offense. There's really nothing they really need on that defense. And I think Josh Jacobs would just be a nice help for the running game, giving them that running game that they used to have with some great multiple running backs. And Jacobs is young, and possibly even draft him and then maybe even trade him away for a couple other draft picks and maybe another player on the other side. Jacobs could be that type of guy for the Colts. I have the Raiders taking A.J. Brown from Ole Miss. They need receivers after trading Amari Cooper, obviously Michael Crabtree too. So I think with their 24th and 27th picks, they will take Whiteside and Brown just to get some receiving help for Derek Carr and obviously for the future Dwayne Haskins. I have the Chargers here selecting, I don't know what his first name is. It's Allen. He's the defensive tackle from Boston College. Haven't seen much of him either. I've just heard that he's a pretty nice player. Your average defensive tackle. Your average, top 25 defensive tackle. But with this defensive draft, they're saying he wouldn't be too high on the list. But, this would be his pretty average pick, even if it wasn't this heavy of a defensive class. I have the Chiefs taking Damian Hamma. Losing Kareem Hunt to my favorite team, the Cleveland. I'm really pumped for if he can be healthy, and hopefully the reviews and I forget what it's called. What was it called? Oh my goodness, the investigations for Kareem Hunt go well, and we can get him to be a good player. But they're going to need a replacement, and Damian Harris from Alabama is a great replacement there. We'll have the Packers taking N'Keal Harry from Arizona State. And, I'll come back to him at the end of this draft and really kind of talk about him. But let's get through the picks. Next up, I have the Patriots taking Drew Lock. Tom Brady's not going to be around forever. They didn't take a QB last year with either of their picks. And with Lock falling this far, I think it would be too hard to pass up a guy like that to learn under Brady. And I think he could be a great player. Ready, last pick. I kind of have this, 31 and 32 are messed up, I know. But I still think it'll be the same way. At Patriots at 32, we'll take Drew Lock. And at 31, I think the LA Rams will take Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. I do have the picks mixed. I do have the picks needed to be flopped, but I don't think the Rams are going to take Lock with a guy like Jared Goff. So I think that it's still going to go that way, even with the picks flipped. Okay, let's get to N'Keal Harry to talk about him, because that's really all I want to talk about. And then since I did my first mock, hopefully soon, I think I'm actually going to do a prospect breakdown on Montez Sweat. I think I'm going to do one I'm also going to do one on Josh Allen from Kentucky. And then the final one that I would like to do, I think Polite from Florida. But talk about N'Keal Harry real quick. Just kind of this video out a bit longer to a decent time. N'Keal Harry, starting off, was expected to be a top 5 pick. He was supposed to be the best receiver in this class, and that the receiver class wouldn't be good. And he's going to be a great player, and I'm excited